Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your presence here today. My name is Keisha Lobo, and it is my privilege to be your anchor for Gatekeepers of Governance Summit, organized by Excellence Enablers, a corporate governance and board advisory consultancy firm. Ladies and gentlemen, day one saw 6 exceptional sessions, and day 2, 3 to unfold. We begin the day with our plenary session, an embodiment of leadership. We feature a conversation between Mr. A.M. Naik and Mr. Damodaran. Ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome our dignitaries to kindly join us on stage, may I request Mr. Damodaran to do us the honors and present Mr. A.M. Naik with a bouquet of flowers as they come up onto stage. Looking forward to the start of day 2 with our plenary session. An embodiment of leadership. What an honor to have it with us this morning. An institution builder, a leader beyond compare. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us on stage, an embodiment of leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, a leader beyond compare, an institution builder, Mr. A.M. Naik. What an honor. And with us, our host, our main gatekeeper, Mr. Damodaran. We've got this bouquet of flowers to welcome Mr. A.M. Naik. Can we please have the bouquet of flowers? A session, an embodiment of leadership, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to this conversation between Mr. A.M. Naik and Mr. Damodaran. I now hand over to Mr. Damodaran to take the session forward. Sir. Sorry. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, friends. To me personally, this is a morning like no other, because I have been able to, it didn't require much persuasion, I must confess. I shouldn't take credit and say that, I tried very hard to get Mr. Naik here, but his affection for me neutralized every other concern that he might have had. He doesn't go to these functions these days, so he's here with us. I will not attempt to introduce him. Because if I actually told all of you, and many of you know this, if I tried to mention his accomplishments, his achievements, the conquests that he has made in a long corporate journey, we will sit here till tomorrow evening. I don't want to do that. Let's just say that we have attempted to capture in 4 words 60 years of outstanding corporate excellence. We call it an embodiment of leadership. Mr. Naik and I go back a long way. Let me say 2-3 other things, and then I will ask on your behalf and my behalf a few questions. And I can assure you that he's not one to hold back. You know that. He has on occasions called a spade a shovel. So he's not going to hold back. Let me say 2 things and then get started on the questions. One, Many of you have seen the tagline of L&T over the years. We make the things that make India proud. Today, the man I present to you is the man who made the L&T that made the things that made India proud. He's also the man who personifies the other shorter, more crisp statement that L&T makes, which is, it is all about Imagineering. So he moved L&T from engineering to Imagineering. Going to places where no man has gone before. If you see the marshy swamps of where the Hazira factory now is, and some of us saw photographs of that, and then you wonder, which man will really think in terms of taking up this land and building this kind of it? He is that man. But that's all I will say by introduction. I don't want to elaborate this. I'm going to ask him a few questions, and then we'll take it from there, right? So my first question, firstly, I must welcome you. I mean, it is such a pleasure, though you and I have known each other for ages, and I don't say this as a formality, but it's great to have you sitting on my right side here. Even in the L&T board, he sat on the right side. I must make a disclosure here that...
when I need help, it is better to have a person on the right.
So he persuaded me to join the L&T board over a lunch. I said yes. And then I decided that I had possibly given the wrong answer. Because I'm going to do now what I haven't done before in all these years, and those of you who know me know that. I have a paper with me for this conversation. I normally don't use paper. The reason is when you go into an L&T board meeting, you better go prepared. You'll be hopelessly out of place if you're not prepared. So I said, continuing in that vein, I'm carrying a sheet of paper as an aid to memory for me to ask Mr. Naik a few questions. Right. So my first question, and this is a question that might not have occurred to you, but I must ask it nevertheless, is that over 6 decades of your corporate journey, and actually when you count in terms of numbers, don't look at years, don't look at months, you get to the hours and take 60 years and multiply that by 15 hours a day. So he's spent more than 100 equivalent years at work, right? So I haven't known of anyone in India or outside who has done that. So in this long journey, has it ever occurred to you, you wake up one morning and say, enough is enough, I've done such a lot, let me do something else. Has that thought ever occurred to you?
Not really,
Okay.
because I loved L&T so much. It has been my life.
Yes.
And when I was a student, I was looking for joining a company which is, of course, gives me an opportunity for technology innovations and engineering excellence and so on, but parallelly, it gives me a platform to be able to, on a wider scale, build up a nation, to help build our nation. And that's what I used to think as a student, 21-year-old. And then, of course, I was not in IIT.
Yes.
Because my father decided to go from Bombay to the village and we all had to go. That was in 1952. And then, therefore, I could not go to IIT. Not that I could not have, but I didn't have opportunity. Can you believe L&T never called me for interview? So I joined a small company, but destiny brought me, it has been a long way, if I have to explain why and how I landed in L&T, but destiny brought me. And one Britisher interviewed me and then offered me a job, which was 40 rupee less than the previous job. But you know, I said I was passionate about L&T, and I said yes. And he said, okay, 760 rupees in those days. Superbike B was a grade, And then he said, but before I can commit this, you have to meet the old man. And the old man was nobody but his boss. He was not really old. He was younger than him. So it took me from first floor down to the Danish man, Mr. Hansen, his office. And while Baker would use the word bloody almost every sentence, he was a Scottish. And Hansen will speak very smooth and rhythmic English. I was in between. Neither went to the extent of bloody, but neither that. So Mr. Hansen and we possibly were for 15 minutes. So he asked me one question. How many people report to you? So I said 350, because I was running the whole workshop at the age of 22. He said, oh, that's a lot. It will take a long time before you can get such responsibility in Larsen, Toubro. So I used to think in Gujarati and translate it into English. So if you explain in Gujarati, it doesn't look bad. But I said to him in English, who knows, time will tell. And he asked me to leave within 30 seconds, his room. So I came out. Within 1 minute, Mr. Baker came out, fuming like anything. And we went up back again on his first floor. His pet man, who was making proposal, estimating, costing, he met me and he was complaining to him about Mr. Hansen. He said, this bloody old man will never allow me to do what I want. At last I got a man. But you know now, he's coming in my way there also. He's telling all this in my presence. Then he took me to the room and he said, my sonny boy, now he's coming down to kind of convincing me. And he said, my sonny boy, you know, the old man says you are overconfident. In fact, he may have said something even more tougher than that, but he said overconfident. So he has only allowed me to give you 670, not 760. Not supervisory B, which was a supervisory grade, but DA plus basic, which was a union grade. So I said, don't worry, Mr. Baker, my life ambition was to join Larsen Toubro, or equivalent of that which doesn't exist in this country. So I'm going to join anyhow. He was relieved. As I went to the door to exit, he called me back. And he said, young man, work hard. And at the time of confirmation, I'll go and fight with the old man to get you what I promised, which means 760 supervisory, which he later on did it. But my life has been very lively from the day one in L&T. All the most difficult assignments Baker would give me because he had tremendous confidence. And I was only 22 and a half, you can say. So I had a terrific time with him, and of course through him to the whole L&T. And he was sitting in a cabin watching this way. And I was 90 degrees this way. So he would look this way, and I'm not in the seat. Every now and then he looks at that and I'm not in the seat. So he called his secretary. I'm talking about first 1 month. Where is this guy? Sir, he is all the time in the shop floor. Good man, he said. He wanted everybody to be on the shop floor. And he thinks people who sit in air-conditioned office are not the one who will get things done. If all the workers are working in such an inconvenient timing and going through such a lot of hard work, the supervisor and manager must also go through. Yeah, few people you may have, designer and so on. So he would not recruit a single engineer. we had a management training scheme, and in management training scheme, he would not, it's a company-wide scheme, but in his group, that is our group, he won't allow anybody. He'll tell Hanson, I want foremen. Foremen mean those who get things done on the shop floor. Of course, there is a up and down, very interesting stories I have, but today is no time to talk about that. But let me tell you, with all these interesting stories, I never thought about anything else but L&T.
Yes. So with 16 hours a day work, 15 to
15,
16 hours, and then you go home and continue to think about L&T.
1 hour, yeah.
So therefore you really didn't, but you also played cricket, I'm told, in your younger days.
Yeah, younger days sort of tried to play.
KV tells me you were a leg spinner.
I tried to be leg
But
spinner.
you know, people who are in the L&T board, like Mr. Chitley, Matthew and I, we have seen you bowl quite a few googlies in the L&T boardroom, so we are reminded that there must have been a leg spinner, yes.
You were also there.
Yes. No, I also watched the googlies.
So all the people,
Yeah.
they only benefited with my googly. If at all I have thrown googly.
You trained them for the
Please bring a single man, and say, Mr. Naik, googly hurt us.
No, but it prepared people for the harder jobs, because if you play a good googly, then it prepares you for the challenges of life, isn't it? Have you ever feared failure at any time? What happens if I fail?
According to me, everyone should have a little bit of fear of failure that makes them strong for the next assignment.
Okay. It
So
doesn't weaken
fear of failure is not a bad thing.
It's not bad.
For a person who always is a great achiever and keeps his standard very high, if you are expecting to get 85 out of 100, but if your yardstick is 95 out of 100, you have a fear of failure. You may not get that 95. But then that fear of failure makes you work harder and harder, that I cannot fail. This is what I thought to myself, I cannot fail. And that made me and drove me always to achieve my targets. So I had a little bit of fear of failure. I have taken many bold decisions, and once I travel, which I think nobody in this hall or anywhere will do, that I had to leave Poland, where I had gone, and I was 34, at night, 9 o'clock night, through thick forest. And I was told that after 3 hours you will hit the border of Germany and there is a hotel and so on, but the driver who was with me doesn't speak a word of English. And in between he stopped the car and took his wife, which was my good luck. Because this guy was trying to unload me in the middle of the forest, and but I was tough with him. I said, I'm not going to get down from this car. Then his wife told him, no. There was another car waiting from Germany. He said, you go in that. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. After we came out of the pump, this was where we were filling the petrol. There were 2 policemen. They stopped the car, just 1 kilometer away. And they said, passport. They also can't speak any English. So I gave passport. He looked for a few minutes, peeped inside the car and so on. Then he said, you can go. Then he lost the way twice more. So I finally took away the map he was seeing. And I told him, you do what I tell you to do now. Turn right, turn left, turn right. So I brought him up to the border. He has not yet seen the board, what town it is. Neither had I seen, but it was at least exit point. So you first cross the Poland border. They opened all my bags, And again I warned him, I am here not because I want to be here. I am here because the chairman of the Export-Import Organization of Poland has invited me. Shall I phone him? It was 4:30 in the morning. So he said, okay, you can go. 1 kilometer from there was the German border. So the German guys opened, and I told him, look, I am here to visit your Leipzig fair. Leipzig is where we wanted to go. Without troubling too much. But meanwhile, he unloaded his wife at the Polish border because she did not have a visa to go into Germany. So then we proceeded. 2 minutes from there, we saw a highway, and we saw Berlin instead of Leipzig. Then I saw left, it was Leipzig. And he jumped. Sir, Leipzig. So I said, even though it is Leipzig and straight road, you do what I tell you to do. Anyway, I came to hotel at 7:45. Everybody was looking for me. I telephoned. They came running. 8:38. Meeting was to start. Can you believe that 8:45 I was in the meeting, traveling whole night, and which I have done many times.
Those of us who know you know that you can do it.
Well, I
make
mean,
life difficult for the rest of us.
You ask me whether you have faced any difficult situation. There is one where you get scared in that forest.
Absolutely.
And with the language not known, with two different countries, both that time East European, it was not, at 34 alone, it was not easy.
But if you had been unloaded there in the forest, you would have put up another plant there, I suppose.
See, unfortunately, they won't allow us to cut the trees, otherwise I would have attempted.
Okay. You must have heard this expression before and brushed it aside several times. What does work-life balance mean to you? I mean, all these people will be interested. 16 hours of work, 60 years in the same company. What would work-life?
Not 60, by the way, 53, because I'm a non-executive chairman.
No,
and you have been kind enough to make that 15 hours into 6 hours now.
That's correct, yes. No, we thought we owed you that much at least.
I'm thankful to you for that.
He is signaling, once I asked him a few years ago when he was moving from executive chairman to non-executive. So I asked him, I said, do you see yourself in a non-executive role? He laughed and he said, you've known me for so many years, is it possible?
But
so
you know,
now he makes an aggressive statement by wearing this dress to show that he is non-executive and that he has stepped off. This is signaling.
But by the way, this was meant for underprivileged people, because I am involved in now a lot of societal work, philanthropic work, charity work in the villages. So I go there every 2 months. And if you go in a too good a dress, they feel hesitant to approach you. You have to be looking like one among them. So the day I became a non-executive chairman, I had only 3 suits in any case throughout my life. So I stopped wearing them, and I had 5 T-shirts bought, and I started wearing it always white, not fancy with straps and so on. And even in a board meeting, non-executive chairman, I used to go in this T-shirt. AGM, I used to go in T-shirt. If there was a in-person AGM. And I made it a habit. Anything you do, you have to practice in such a way it becomes the way of life. So for me, it became a way of life. I don't feel hesitant to go anywhere in T-shirt now. Or I can wear a shirt. But I think it conveys a lot of messages.
Oh, yes.
And the message is not deliberate. It is not as if I must impress somebody, therefore I am doing this. It is directly to participate in what you want to do. In this case, I have now, in my philanthropic work, through my two trusts, Naik Charitable Trust, which is education and skilling, and medical side, the health side, is I lost my granddaughter at 2.5-year age with cancer. So that is on the name of her, Nirali Memorial Medical Trust. And we have now 5 hospitals in this trust. And the last 2 where if there are a lot of people who come from abroad have gone there. And they have told me that, I mean, I'm not trying to please myself or to impress anyone, but they have told me there are no hospital better than this in US or England. Because my equipments are the best in India at least. And the building, if you see, they look so gorgeous that you feel like staying there, going and sitting there for 1 hour, 2 hours like that. Although it's a hospital. The Prime Minister of India opened that about 2.5 years ago. And then we have 6 schools in the Education Trust. And one of them is in Bombay. If anybody has a chance, you can go and see it. It is now one of the best of Bombay. We can't admit people. People are booking for next year. So, working in L&T, that is one thing you learn. Whatever you do, do the best. I do not have a single particle of dust in any of our hospitals. I'm talking compound, not in the building, and the school. It is either the greeneries, lawns, roads, or building, but no dust. That is what we learned from L&T way of doing.
We've seen it. Mr. Chitli and I have gone and seen all the hospitals as well as the schools, and I was mentioning to Sanjeev is not here today, when we went to see that this is one time I wish I could roll back the years and get admitted to school, because now I know what I must have missed at that time when I went to school.
As long as you think of school, it is fine, but don't think of getting admitted in hospital.
No, you mentioned that the hospital was a very nice place. Hospital is phenomenal, equipment is phenomenal, and then you see the doctors, you get a little worried. They're so competent that you don't want to engage with them.
I know, but they will at least keep you going.
That they do, yes. Best to keep going outside.
Now, this is not enough. We have adopted 40 schools. Because they are all schools which are poor people's schools. The government has sanctioned the school, but then left it to them, and it is not done well. There are not many equipments. So in the adaptation, we make the schools much better than they were there. With the equipments, we brought computer for all of them, we brought English classes, and so on. And I meet all the 40 plus our own principals every second month, myself. Because I want them to know that I am approachable. Because my image until then was, oh, this man is too big, we can't even go near him. Now they know they can go near me. And I think that is the crux of the matter. People have to change, they have to transform. They have to understand that this is the new life. Every now and then we have a new objectives. So I am quite pleased with this work. In my 6 hours a day that I do now, 2 hours every day is philanthropy and charity work. For example, 3 days ago we decided to build 2 hostels, 175 for the girls and 117 for the boys, in 2 different locations. One has 85% backward class and scheduled class. one had 90% only tribal boys and girls, where my father was the principal for 8 years. And the village people treated him so well that when they came to me, I thought, okay, we'll make it for them. So I'm busy. Let me tell you, and I'm busy with great satisfaction. I said great 4 or 5 times. So I think that's the way the life goes.
Let's move to another area that interests you, which is mentoring of young people. What are the qualities you look for in a leader? So you mentored hundreds of officers who moved to higher positions. What do you look for to see the potential?
Well, I think one thing is the most important part. Let me tell you, you have in L&T, at least I can say, I used to think every day what I did yesterday. And then 1 hour, as he said, at night, I go over it and say, this, say 4 or 5 things I could have done better. Then in the morning, as I was traveling, I recap that today I cannot make those errors. But then something else crops up, and that becomes your way of life. And that's a continuous improvement program. So this is how you become self-made. Self-made person constantly learning and feeling we got to do this today and do better than yesterday. So that is one. Second is budget. I'm comparing it with all corporate aspects. Now, when I went, it was 6 monthly, midterm and yearly. Now it became quarterly. So the quarterly result we have to work on, yearly budget, and by and large, L&T has been doing well. And I can only tell you that L&T market cap, which was 4,000 crore when I took over, is now 5,05,000 crore. And all in last 20 years. So in 20 years, we have multiplied the market cap 130 times. So this happens only if you have devotion, passion, conviction, and commitment. You only go to temple when you go for devotion. My temple has been L&T. I have slept many times. I could not go home back at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, going around in the shop because the discipline and other things were not good. And I slept on the table. Now, what all can I tell him to be a successful leader? I mean,
Any three things.
I'm giving you what can be a successful leader, although it may be very hard.
It's too late in life for me to learn, so anyway. But at least there are younger people in the audience who will learn this.
So I always say, you can't be devoted without passion. You got to have passion that I will go and keep and make sure I'm successful. That is a passion. But you can't have passion unless you have a conviction. And most people think big, they have a vision, and this is the story of 90% plus people, but only 5 to 10% can make it happen. And that is why I said commitment. Devotion, passion, conviction, and commitment. If you can follow this, I can see by and large, you will be always successful. So that is number 2 attribute. Number 3, first time in L&T in 2000, I started 5-year strategic plan, first time in the history of L&T. And I did very professionally. I have been thinking about it 2-3 years in advance, knowing that next turn is mine on seniority, and L&T used to believe in seniority. I changed all that and I brought meritocracy. By the time people become general managers, they were 55 and retirement age that time was 58. So what have you left in them? 3 years of working, of leadership? So I said everybody who are the brightest of the bright must become the leader by 45. It did not become 45, but 48, 50, it is today. And then we see this, all of you must know that you have bunch of companies which are in consumer products. You have 7 companies today I know in petroleum and petroleum-related products. How many companies are in building infrastructure, projects, hydrocarbon, offshore, in the sea, under pipeline, nuclear reactor, aerospace, defense? Tell me how many. Only one. And that is Larsen Toubro. Nobody else has been able to be successful. We have 4.5 lakh people. 2.75 lakhs are contract workers working at remotest places, most inconvenient places. Their life is tough. When I see that, then I said my 15 hours is not as tough as that. My father, who is my role model, was and has always been, he used to come from village to our house. Later on, last 15 years, he stayed with us. And he always used to show me a tower coming up next door. And he said, don't look up. He used to tell me, don't look up, look down. See that hut? When the tower is ready for occupation and people will start coming, these people don't know where is their next destination. When you look at that life, you will be very happy with your life. But if you keep looking at that, you will always be disappointed. Is it the life you want? Of course, all this is in Gujarati. So, you also got to have a good trainer, role model. And my father has been role model. He thought of always others. I'll give you a small example. But people, the best way to tell all of you is from these kind of small examples. And not theory. These are all hard truth. In 1992, I became a director on the board in 89. In 1992, he was staying with us. We brought him from village to our house in 85. And the villager used to come always to meet him, those who come to Bombay, because their sons and daughters or sister or brother, somebody was always in Mumbai, and they used to come and meet him. And used to say, your son is, you must be very happy, your son is doing so well. You must be proud of him. Now, the way I'm saying it, not where the conversation goes, it goes in Gujarati the way it goes. And then he say, yeah, I'm very happy about him. One day in 92, he only time in my whole life he asked anything is this. In 92, he said, there is in an extended village, where there are 5 villages, in the center, there was a hospital coming up. And he says, if you can help them. They have no money. When he retired, he had 32,000 rupees. And of that, 25,000 he gave in that hospital on the name of his father. I witnessed all that. And then he tells me, so he thought I'll give another 25,000. By the time I had worked for 30 years, I saw my bank balance. In 30 years, it was 2.6 lakhs. I asked the organizer, what are you going to do? He said, we are going to make the whole first floor and we need 4 lakhs. If you give 4 lakh, we'll put whoever's name you want. Then I went, in those days, I think Mr. Chitle will know, we could withdraw from our Provident Fund account, but we have to repay in 4 years. So I withdrew 1.4 lakhs. Of course, I repaid by 98. Repaid meaning my own money, but you have to put back into Provident Fund account. Made 4 lakhs and gave it to them. And today that hospital is 100-bed hospital in a village, and it is on my grandfather's name. Now my father came to know means immediately, within minutes. And he called me, you know what he did? He went through my passbook, did that. Because it is beyond his imagination that I can pay 4 lakhs just like that. How can I have 4 lakhs? And then when the villagers were coming, and they were saying the same thing, you must be very happy, he's doing so well, you must be proud of him. You know what he said? I am not only very happy with him, but I am very proud of him. Because he thought of others and not himself. Now when you have this kind of value system, character, hierarchically for 3-4 generations, this goes on from my grandfather. 120 years ago, he was a gold medalist in old Gaikwad state. You know, 1,000 kingdoms were there and Sardar Patel combined together, all that story you know. So, the point I am trying to make, because he has said, how did you learn leadership? The leadership, I did not go for MBA. I have been BE. I haven't done any study beyond Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering. I did not go abroad. So 90% of the learning is self-made. You observe, you read what happens in your surrounding, and you pick the best out of it, learn from it, and that is your best teacher. So I think for me, my 120 years of, you can say upbringing, where we always thought of others. I'm not talking myself, my grandfather and my father. When I went back from Bombay, you know, I was 10.5-year-old. I told you my father went back. And my grandfather, in old days, some of you may know, there was a Gurukul system of education. And my grandfather used to walk 8 kilometers, which was the nearest Gurukul school. And Monday to Friday he will be there, Saturday at 2 o'clock he will start walking back and come back by 4 o'clock, and by 5 o'clock he was in the farm. And early morning on Monday at 5 o'clock he will start walking again, and 7:30 he is at the door of the school. When he comes back that evening, that is Saturday evening, he goes to tribal colony, we'll call it scheduled caste and so on. And their hut is basically, it's not a house, it's a hut. And there were verandas which were made out of gobar and so on. And he will sit there. And 15, 20 children will come running, saying, Bapa has come, Bapa has come. I used to watch all that. Then he used to wear a long coat. He will pull out in 1 anna, if anybody knows that there was a 1 anna, 100 peppermints were available. So he used to buy 100 peppermint and distribute to these children. And you should see that I still remember how much happy they were. For what? Little peppermint? All of you should realize that the poor people's expectations are very low. All of us can do something, and you will not feel a pinch in your house, but in your pocket, but you will feel that these people, you can see them smiling on their face, so satisfied. This is my upbringing. This is when I came back from Bombay. Your question I'm answering different ways.
That's the best way to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've seen my father. I told you about the hospital. And I told you also that he gave me an example of the tower and the hut down below. Now, these are the best lessons you can learn in life. And absorb and take the best out of it. And practice it. Around which you build your value system and character. According to me, that is the most important requirement to be a leader.
So I want to take you to another theatre, which is, and I'm inspired by the presence of Rama here. You were chairman, I am Ahmedabad for a few years. How do you think management education should be reoriented to meet India's
Nobody
requirements?
can explain better than Rama.
No, that is why she chooses not to speak at our conferences, but anyway.
Well, I had a good fortune of 4 years in IIM Ahmedabad. She also knows why I left. My term was 6 years, but I came out 2 years before. By the way, Prime Minister asked me twice at different occasions. His question was, why did you come out of IIM Ahmedabad? And I came out, I don't want to tell now, on a ground of principle. And I think what I find in a management student, not necessarily IIM only, but and a management student, that they are not in tune with what all I said. I said it practical, what happens on the ground. And that has been the way I built my own personality or character or qualities. I think that practical application, what society wants, is somewhat lacking. You send them as a part of the education that in your curriculum you put 3 months for them to go to the villages, which is where Gandhiji used to say India lives. India lives in villages. By the way, that is why my father went from Bombay to the village, because Gandhiji said so. He cried. I've seen him cry twice. When Gandhiji died, he cried. So, and he went partly because of that. I would not say only because of that. So, I think application of what will eventually be faced by these MBA graduates and management students as they go in life is something which grounding of that requires somewhat better to be done. I had a good fortune of that grounding from that 10.5-year-old boy going to the Adivasi colony with my grandfather, to my father continuously reminding me that look down what the poor people are compared to you. That builds the character in a person. So a lot depends on the upbringing, where the character comes. In terms of IIM Ahmedabad or any management schools, I would say it's a great institution. They are required from the point of view of learning what should really, in terms of knowledge that they must have. But that won't make them, see, they are also supposed to make them leader. But they don't make them great leaders. If you see all management, 90% of the management graduates, they are either in finance, banking, consumer products, sales, marketing, business development, you won't find even 1% to go in L&T and slog in Himalayas. You want them to learn? Send them to L&T and send them to Himalayas.
So they prefer the ACPC arrangement.
You know, we make guns like Bofors, exactly like Bofors, but much better version. We made 100 of them. They need to be tried out in the desert of Rajasthan. Our boys, and there are 1 or 2 girls, they stay in a camp for 1 month, 2 months till the trial is over. That's a real, in my view, the future technology-based leaders. They are not IIMs. Not that they can't be, but the IIM's broad understanding is we are in strategy, I'll be able to give consultation to so-and-so man. I should not say this, but I'm telling you my experience. First 5-year plan I did with BCG. And the name was Project Blue Chip. And that is the time we verticalized to focus on individual business, the company. Second 5-year plan was with McKinsey. And we also brought one more company, Bain, but in L&T Finance. But I met them all and very often, and I used to ask them, why don't you take out of my 12 Division 1 and run it? I asked BCG, I asked Bains, I asked McKinsey. And since we have one McKinsey man on the board, yes, you should ask him tomorrow. Do you know that for last 23 years I have not been able to convince them? No, that's not our... Then suddenly the successor to the person in our board, he said, yes, I will take one vertical. After 1 week, he backed out. Because what he is telling, he has to prove it is same thing what he said can be done.
It's easier to preach.
Now you tell me whether have I answered you or not answered you.
See, what this audience wants is to extract the lessons. Now I want to take you to another interesting place. You battled, when I say you personally, because nobody else did that, battled 2 large corporate groups which were trying to take over L&T. And then you set up this employee trust. How did this entire thing occur to you?
I think you are asking me a secret of what I did. But I think...
You don't have to share the secret sauce, but tell the story.
Open secret is not what possibly can be stated on that incident. But yes, from 1987, it's a long story. Our chairman, then Mr. N.M. Desai, there was a person called Chabaria, I'm sure you knew, and he bought 4% of L&T shares. And I think strategically, stage managed, whatever, I don't want to go into it, somebody came and scared the hell out of Desai that now Chabaria is going to take over L&T. So Mr. Desai went to Dhirubhai and told him, we don't want to give this to foreigners. Chabaria was in Dubai. How should I go about, what can you do? Parallelly, Reliance had, through BOP Fiscal Services, which is the subsidiary of Bank of Baroda, and there was a chief executive called Ferwani. and they had picked up 18% of the share and kept, which was bought over by Dhirubhai. Now there is a hard truth, so I can't tell you on some of it, but the long and short of it is, Dhirubhai became a chairman, and Mr. Desai, I would use the word outstayed. Now, the man who goes for a help to him was outstayed. But anyway, that's a corporate world. I mean, things happen if you don't have competence. I would say that. He was a lawyer, very nice man, very kind man. He just died about 8 months ago at the age of 100. But the only man who went and saw him every 3, 4, 5 months was myself for all the years. And if I don't go, he'll fall. And last 2, 3 years, he could not even make a proper talking. So he tells his son, phone him Naik. Tell him I want to see. And I used to go. So he was a kind man, nice man. But being a lawyer, I think he may be more oriented towards how legally it is done than how practically it is done. Anyway, this went on. VP Singh became a Prime Minister. One thing I must tell you, that L&T is always in the eyes of the Prime Minister. That is one advantage. So VP Singh...
Prime Ministers build India, L&T builds India. This competition, isn't it?
I mean, the point is sometimes Prime Minister retain their job because of us. So VP Singh became a Prime Minister. By the time Dhirubhai was 1 year as a chairman of L&T. And VP Singh and Gandhi family, you know the relation. And Dhirubhai was made this facilitated by Rajiv Gandhi. So, VP Singh removed Mr. Ambani. Then there was no chairman. Then VP Singh brought after 6 months Mr. Ghosh, the ex-State Bank chairman. D.N. Ghosh. By the way, one thing I must tell you, because it's one of the questions, is having relationship. It is not yet come, but...
I was holding it for the end.
But D.N. Ghosh or Dhirubhai or anyone, can you believe each one of them had faith in me? Among all the executives. I'm talking topmost board members. Sometimes one man may not have that much, but we live with it. Now, within 1.5 years, VP Singh was ousted, and Chandrasekhar came. He was there for only 6 months, but one job he did, he ousted Ghosh. Whether he ran the country or not, I don't know. And before he could bring back Dhirubhai, Chandrasekhar was ousted. And then that story went on, and this became an issue which was there had been many steps that we have gone through in this whole story, including proxies in the this thing. I don't want to go into it. But there came a time in 99, let's say 2000, Vajpayee became Prime Minister. As I told you, our future is always linked to PM. And I think Ambanis may have thought. My relation, by the way, is superb with them. Superb with Birla also. That is another story I'll tell you. They are the people I fought hardest, particularly the last one, Birla's.
I was going to anchor my relationship question on that. You ousted two of these people and maintained great relationships. How do you do that?
No, if you are, I'll tell you up to this. So, now they were so closely linked to Congress. And BJP came. And with proper majority. So they are going to stay for 5 years. So now, Dhirubhai said, "Ye bahut ho gaya abhi." We are becoming very big in our area of competence. So they sold it to Birla. One more thing, we were naive. I can tell you, we were naive. We were not shrewd enough. I'm talking about me included. We thought Ambani's had at least 28%. Now, we could have easily got it that they have only, at one time, 4%. And when they sold it to Birla's, quietly they built it up to 10.5%. When they declared, and 10.5% was sold to Birla, and Mukesh and Anil, who were on the board, went away, and that position was taken by Mrs. Birla, that is a mother, and the Kumar Birla. And then the real story started of direct confrontation. And that went on for nearly 1.5 years. They said many board meetings were standstill. I came to know that Mr. Birla basically wants cement. He doesn't want engineering and this khatpat of, as I told you, going to Himalayas and desert and doing all kinds of things. If there is a simpler way of making money, why do this? So, I said I can't give cement. In fact, Daswant Singh told me, the finance minister. By the way, I was taken to Mr. Bajpai. Huh? One thing is that in this fight, I saw all Prime Minister. And he, I think Title was there or not, but you have seen my village. You have seen my house, where my upbringing was. Now, man who came from such a small house, small village, comes to the corporate world of Bombay, where all kinds of Chanakyas and everybody is there. And to be able to protect yourself is difficult. There is a question of aggression. But someone took me to Mr. Bajpai, and one thing God has given me, that if you introduce me anybody one time, I think I persuade that person 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and finally build relation with him. Work will be done if you have relationship. But that's not our objective. Building relationship is our objective. And that's a parameter of any successful businessman. So, I said, fine, we will invite competitive bidding, cement. And one company, Blue Circle, the largest cement producer of England, they gave me the offer. So I had a strong hands. I had an offer in my hand. So I told the government I can't do it. Mr. Bajpai sent me to Mr. Advani. I tell you, little lighter moment also are required while we talk. I went and met him. And he said, you are from Larsen, Toubro. You know, when I was doing the canvassing for the election, my haddi and pasli, he did like this, were being broken. And suddenly I came on a glass road, smooth road. I never had experienced that. So I asked the driver, how suddenly the road which was so rough has become smooth? So the driver said, Larsen Toubro built it, sir. So he told me this story instead of solving that other problem. Now, after about 10 minutes, hearing the story, Sambalpur to Rourkela, that is the patch which we had built. After that, I went out and I told XYZ with whom I went, I said, what did we achieve in this meeting? He said, we always achieve. One more step is clear, he said. You have met him, I told you meet him. So now we can go and meet who we want to meet. So we went to George Fernandes, NDA chairman. Believe me, because he was a socialist, his leaning was always towards common people, not the industrialists. He helped me a lot. And he is the man who virtually took me to Jaswant Singh in his room. And he told Jaswant Singh, these people are a good company. They are doing my defense work. We were doing very little that time. But still, therefore, it is a company we as a nation cannot give it away, he said to Jaswant Singh. Now you find out what to do, but please make sure L&T is not given away to anybody. These are the words George Fernandes used. You want to know now the basic thing he said how. So I have gone through all this. Then Jaswant Singh told me, I understand Mr. Birla wants cement. In my first 5-year plan, I had declared that we want to sell cement. It's not our core. Our core is engineering, manufacturing, projects, and so on. So I said yes, but how do I decide the price? I am also answerable to my few lakh shareholders. I can't give it away. There must be competitive bidding. So Jaswant Singh, between you and me, was a Raja and therefore didn't understand all what was going on. So he tells the finance secretary now, Narayanan, and tell him, why don't you find something, cement can get a good price and L&T can sell it to Birla. Mr. Naik has agreed. But how to find out that which is a good price? So there was a credit agency called ICRA. So ICRA was appointed for price discovery. After 3 months, ICRA came up with price discovery of the L&T as it was, not cement separated yet, combined, 310 rupees. The market was 160, 70 rupees. About that. But they were liberal and they made it 310. Now, Narayanan said, you and Birla sit together and decide how much is cement and how much is your engineering. That is a big issue now. Birla will say, mine is very little because you are losing money. I will say the maximum money and the maximum assets are in cement. In engineering is a light on capital. This 4-5 meeting went on. This was not in the board, outside of board. Then finally he was very, very clear he wants that cement. I was very, very clear that I cannot give, I have one condition, that if I give you the company, you will keep cement, you will demerge, and you might sell engineering to somebody else. There were rumors, I don't want to say to whom. So I said, you will have to, I told Jaswant Singh, I said, sir, one condition only I'll put, apart from price discovery, I have to get engineering shares out of Mr. Birla with us. And that too, I said I want now to ring-fence L&T for future. That this what we have suffered from 87 to 2003, 16 years doesn't happen ever again. Largely, I would not say impossible. That is how Birla was told, you want cement, keep cement. L&T will demerge the company. I did not demerge completely, I did partial demerger. We wanted to retain 25%, which we sold later on, made some money on it. My average price of expansion of 5.5 million I did, can you believe, was $19 a ton. And ICRA's pricing, whatever I negotiated, I got $85 a ton. That time as a young man, not that bad, huh? So,
You're still young. You were younger.
I think you all thought that I'm become too old now, so let it be that way. Now, between me and Birla now had no choice but to work out price and partially demerge. Otherwise, Birla doesn't get cement. So, he started saying there are a lot of losses in cement, which was a fact, negative EVA. So he said price is, cement should be out of 310, 120, 120. He worked out some, what does the loss and negative EVA means and so on. So I told Mr. Birla, I am not interested in all your calculation. I didn't say I said in a very gentle manner. Let's be practical. I have worked out I can't pay you more than 105, my price, engineering. Then we negotiated. He went up, I went. When he went up 10 rupees, I went up 5 rupees. And finally, we met at 140 rupees for engineering and 310 minus 140, which is 170 for cement. So he moved up from 120 to 170. I moved up from 105 to 140. And the deal was struck. Now, how do I buy this? I don't have money. We are engineers. As I told you, my 30-year bank balance was 2.6 lakhs. And I wanted this share to be with employees' trust only, not with L&T. Then we are not protected. It will be traded in the market. So finally, again, Jaswant Singh had to tell through the secretary that tell the institution that this is the only way it will be done. Now, 275 crore, government told through institution L&T to give a loan. I did the structuring of the demerger, I did the structuring of the foundation forming and negotiation. And by the way, when the negotiations are over, Birla got up. I also got up. He shook hands with me. And he said, every time the history is written about L&T, Mr. Naik, I assure you, your name should be in golden words. He said, you saved L&T. This is what he said. He was gentle enough to finally accept that.
I have seen that at very close quarters because when the deal was finalized, it was done in the Unit Trust of India boardroom. Because we were shareholders on both sides. And we made it easier for them to meet on common ground at that time. That's when I saw Mr. Naik up close and personal and told myself, never get into a boxing ring with this man. So I think it's been an interesting journey. 1 hour, you simply cannot do justice. But
This is, by the way, a long story, but we stop now. I'll take his next question.
yeah. No, I'm only going to make a comment and stop. I'll spare you any further questions. And
You will
then
not make any further question? Or you have?
somebody's put up something there. That's why I'm worried. Yeah.
Oh, time is up. Okay. We'll take the opinion poll, whether you want to hear more.
If he is willing, at next year's summit, we'll schedule half a day for him. Right? But I only wanted to say 2 things at the end.
By the way, I want to answer your one question
Tell,
only.
yes, sir, go ahead.
Then the time is up.
We'll ignore it.
Now, he asked, all these fights that you had, unfortunately, how did you manage your relationship with both the industrial house? They were our biggest customer. Reliance will want everything to be done by L&T. And we built Hazira plant, we built Patalganga, we built Jamnagar refinery, Jamnagar petrochemicals. You have seen this beautiful geo in front. Mukesh told me one day, you go and see the span of the building. There is not a single pillar. Your people have done it. You go and see it. Now, how do we keep good relation as a customer? Similarly, whether it is the aluminum or cement or any other, Birla wanted only L&T to do it. One of the reasons they wanted at least Reliance to take over L&T is to build all their plants. Partly, I will not say fully, partly. Now, how do I keep relationship and fight? Relationship and fight. That's his question. I think a lot depends on sympathy you get while fighting also. I don't want to tell you some silent points of this, but I have had all of those which you can think of. And I used to be very respected. But there was this issue on which we had agreed and not complied by one of them, let's say, who I don't want to tell. So I went to the court. 3 years we fought on the court. Then I got a call one day by the intermediate lawyer, Mr. Naik, and we split half and half. It was only 0.8% shares, which was not given to me, which was supposed to be given. So finally, I agreed 0.4% and 0.4%. So in 2008, we got that 0.4%. And as I said, I behaved never aggressively in all these. I acted aggressively, but I didn't behave aggressively. Second thing, believe me, both had, I should not say myself, terrific respect for me. Terrific is an understatement. So when you have that kind of respect for what you do, how you demerge, how you have created the employees' trust, how you negotiated to get 275 crore, then we pledged all the shares to Citibank and took 150 crore and total price was 425. We gave and took the 14.95 shares. Today we are 17%, the biggest shareholder of L&T. And this is Harvard has asked me, Kellogg has asked me. He said, tell me how from zero you got 62,000 crore shares. I said, that is a very great secret. You are a management guru, you should tell me.
That's a very interesting, good note to close that story. I'll just make two comments. Now you know why he's named Naik, leader. There's no further explanation. The second is a personal story. I've told him this. When I was chairman IDBI, I was a member of a jury to select India's best manager for the year. And finally, after a lot of discussions, it came down to two names. I had kept my counsel. I didn't volunteer any opinion. All the celebrities on that jury expressed their views, and then Jamshed Irani, who was chairing that, said, you haven't said anything at all. What is your choice between this? I said, the other man is great, there's no doubt about it. He's an inheritor. Mr. Naik is not an inheritor. He's one that built it ground up. But most important, and I want to say this and close, is I said that I wish nobody did it to him, but if somebody actually skinned him, you will find L&T written beneath his skin. And with that identification, clearly I don't want that he should lose. He has won, I think, 85 awards so far.
Now it has become 89.
89 awards. This was one of his first 2 or 3. So I'm sure now he's lost count. I think 89, yesterday Kohli got out also, I think at the same score. Somewhere thereabouts, all leaders, I think as they approach 100, have an issue. But thank you very, very, very much
Sir,
for being
will you
here.
allow me to speak 2 minutes?
Of course, yes. I'm not saying anything, I've finished.
I was,
Yeah.
every time I was thinking, I had 2 pockets. One pocket is I must get L&T, whatever it means. Not get, not allowed it to go. It had almost gone, almost. And second pocket said, they are my best customer, I can't lose them. The only thing is the left-hand pocket was little heavier. That L&T cannot go. 2017, my book was released in the Nationalist. Mukesh came and he spoke gloriously. My second book now is coming, The Man Who Built Tomorrow, A.M. Naik, The Man Who Built Tomorrow. That is decided by distributor, the title. And there are 6 people who have written forward. One is forward written by Mukesh. And he used to tell others. He said, I have seen many professionals, not the owner's children or brother or sister, but the man who can fight for his company as if it is his own is only one, A.M. Naik. His word, the man whom I fought with. You wanted to know. Birla, I'll tell you, like he said, there was a panel deciding the business leader of the year award. And he was chairing it, Birla was chairing it. This is what I'm told by the magazine. And then this, one of them said, Mr. Birla, you have a great experience with Mr. Naik. What do you think yourself? Everybody had said what they wanted to. And Mr. Birla says, if you tell me about what our experience has been, I don't think this award can be denied to him. It rightfully should go to him, the man I fought. It's a rare, you cannot realize how rare it can be that you fight tooth and nail, save your company, and still be retaining my 2 best customers. Now on that note, you can close.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. A.M. Naik. What an honor, a leader beyond compare, an institution builder, sir. A caricature
fantastic.
for you to remember your time here today.
Fantastic.
And
Planted 10 trees in your name.
this is a
Oh,
certificate, 10 trees planted in your name in the Sundarbans. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Damodaran and Mr. A.M.
wake up
Naik, we
little
want to
easily.
capture this special moment and a huge round of applause,
Half a minute
a
I'll take to
standing
wake up.
ovation. How much better could this be?
Can somebody remove this?
After that incredibly powerful session, ladies and gentlemen, so many knowledgeable gems to take away. Thank you, Mr. A.M. Naik. What an honor and a privilege for all of us to be here in the room in front of you. The plenary session and embodiment of leadership. Thank you so much.